You were featured on Shark Tank as an inventor or an entrepreneur that actually was able to get the sharks to invest. Tell us a little bit about that experience. So today joining us, we've got multi-vertical investor, entrepreneur, inventor, and marketing expert, Bechara Jaoudeh, who has graced us with easily one of the most beautiful, if not the most beautiful, Lamborghini Huracan EVOs with us on set. Welcome to Wheels and Wealth. How you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on board. So you have really an extensive resume in terms of, I would say, inventions and also just businesses that you've started over the past decade. And I would love for you to really share with us, begin with your story. How did you get to where you are today? Don't take me from the age of 5. I don't really care what happened back then. But no, where does your story really begin for us?
Sure. Yeah, I had the opportunity to immigrate to the U.S. back in 2001.
Okay.
I was born and raised in Beirut, Lebanon. Went to school there, graduated high school, and then I came to the U.S. to pursue the dream, right? And really started going to community college. And
now, was that your whole family came to the country,
No.
or just you?
No, I came by myself as a student. Lived in the dorms at the college I went to, and worked delivering pizza in Allentown for $6 an hour, right? And
well, that's the dream, moving to Allentown.
Right.
Once you come to this country.
Any guy from Beirut, that's they want to go to Allentown. But no, I mean it was an opportunity, right? It was an adventure at the time, and it was a start, Caught the entrepreneurial dream. In 2003, I opened my own pizza shop, because that's a rite of passage.
Wow.
Learned a lot. I mean, I was very young, inexperienced, no business background, and it was really a master's degree in business, right?
To me, there's a lot of money in the right pizza shop. One of my closest friends, he owns Naaman's Pizzeria. Which is a really great spot, but I think he does well.
Yeah, no, the food business, especially pizza shops, you either make it or you don't.
Okay.
You don't live in that middle ground too long. Unfortunately for me at the time, made a lot of mistakes, right? Paid for every mistake along the way, from location to working with the city. They ended up putting a median in front of the pizza shop so people couldn't turn from the other lane. Had the wrong business partners, food cost, all of that. Things that you don't know when you're, under 21 trying to make this happen. But what that did teach me or highlight for me were the gaps in my knowledge. So initially I came to school for computer science and security. I was a computer geek. And after the pizza shop, what I learned very quickly about myself is that I enjoyed starting businesses. So when the pizza shop shut down 3.5 years later with a lot of debt, I focused on repaying the debt to kind of pay off and close that chapter. And I went back to school for business management and entrepreneurship, because that was my biggest learning through that experience.
Just 3 years later, you guys were out of business.
Yeah, 3.5 years, yeah.
So they say that the average business takes 3 to 5 years to turn a profit, yet most businesses will be out of business within the first 2.
That's very true, yeah.
I totally get it. Actually, I co-owned a restaurant with my sister and my mom, who did all of the cooking. But it's funny, we did no marketing research. A lot of people go into that business, do no market research whatsoever. They just think, hey, we can cook. And people will like the food, but they don't pay attention to things like what kind of traffic is coming, through here, what, other places are in this area. It's very, very interesting. Okay.
Yeah, the science part of that business venture was absent. For me, it was find a good pizza man that makes good pizza, order the right ingredients, right? Make it happen. Find the ovens and the dough machines and things like that. But yes, I did not take a look at foot traffic in front of the store, local competition, like truly going back and doing a SWOT analysis on that business and understand it's clear that it failed in hindsight, right? So that's that was that chapter. But I don't regret it. It was an amazing experience.
So listen to you now, SWOT analysis, and
I know,
you came
right?
from pizza ingredients to getting a true education in marketing. So how did that work?
Yeah, so when the pizza shop closed, my wife and I moved to the Ambler area, enrolled at Temple University.
Awesome. Alma mater.
Yeah, yeah. Went to school there, graduated with business management and entrepreneurship. And I went back to school as an older student, right? I wasn't a traditional student graduating high school and enrolling in college. But that allowed me to extract so much more value from it.
So you went right there, right after, this is directly after the pizza shop,
Correct,
or there was another experience in between?
No, I worked, as I was going to school, I was working, managing a jewelry store at the mall.
Okay.
Learned a lot about sales. My life is in chapters, right? So there's the pizza shop chapter, there's the going to school chapter where I was going to school and also working retail at the mall. And then a semester before graduating in my senior year, I had to do an internship as part of the program in order to graduate. And I would sit in my advisor's office and mope. His name was Chris. I was, Chris, I have no possibilities here. I'm gonna graduate, I'm gonna go get a job in corporate America. What should I do? And I was looking for that answer. And Chris came to me at one point and he said, I wanna introduce you to this gentleman. I feel like your skill sets are complementary. Go do your internship with him and see how it goes. So I met an individual by the name of Skip Shuda. He and I worked together at his company called Team in a Dream. He helped startups and entrepreneurs go to market.
Wow.
So helped them with their pitch decks to investors, helped them with business planning, things along those lines, helping them get funding. But that company never made money. They worked they got equity in the businesses that they helped. And these companies, like most, are not successful. Like the success rate is very small. So at the end of my internship, he asked me what I wanted to do. And I said, I like the marketing layer of the things we did for these entrepreneurs, and that I wanted to zoom in and focus on that. And
this is the owner of the company,
the
or
owner
your advisor?
Team in a Dream, yeah.
Gotcha.
And he said, let's join forces. He was winding down Team in a Dream, and he said, let's start a new company together. And my marketing company, Philly Marketing Labs, was born out of that.
One of one color on an Evo?
Correct.
Or on a Huracan, generally?
On a Huracan in general. So this looks like the Verde turbine, which has a lot of gray in it, and that's what you'll see more of. It's the official STO color. It came out, it's a much darker green than this. This is the Verde Vaca. They came up with this color for a Performante several years ago, and it really didn't take off on the Performante, just because I don't think it plays well with the Italian flag that used to be on the side of the
I agree. Yeah.
So when I saw it on this color with the bronze, I knew this was the car, and we set it up.
So they don't produce it in this color, right?
Correct.
So you had
It's an
that.
ad personam special order thing.
Got it. How did you didn't think about putting the bronze on there at first?
No.
So-
It wasn't until we went to the Lamborghini lounge where this recommendation came up.
So I've never spec'd out a Lamborghini at any lounge for the one in New York. So how does that work? Are you seeing a digital rendering of it on?
Well, they give you a lot of champagne.
So let me ask you a question. I think we live in an era, not just an era, but most people, I think, would say the best, or most people who know business would say the best way to get experience and to learn how to run a business is to run a business, right? So here you are, you've come out of a failed business venture, okay? Learned some things, but for all intents and purposes, if it's closed and it didn't really turn a profit, it failed.
Yep.
And then you go back to school. Was the more formal education in entrepreneurship of any real value?
It's yes and a no. When I went to school, I didn't have the savvy to realize that anything I could learn in that school, I could learn on YouTube. I mean, the reality is you can take Harvard-level classes for free online. You don't need to get a formal education. But given that I didn't know what I didn't know at the time, going through a formal process like going to school, enrolling in classes, attending classes, doing homework, that was the mode that I learned through. But nowadays, you don't have to. If you identify a gap in your knowledge, if I didn't know how naturally aspirated engines worked, I could go on YouTube and watch half an hour worth of YouTube, and that would have replaced weeks or months of research back in the early 1980s, right? We have so much access to knowledge right now.
In
So
the
you don't
early
need
2000s, the late
Yeah.
90s, for a while now, for sure.
So it's a yes or no, but I think it's dependent on the individual and their style of learning and what they know, right? So I like the formal education that I got. I learned things that at the time I didn't think I would need, right? Inventory turnover rate, right? Or different concepts of finance or macroeconomics, right? Thinking at a macro level. At the time, you're studying them in class and they're a chore, right? Like, when am I gonna ever use this again? But you'll see that when you're working, especially in marketing, we touch a lot of clients. So I have clients in manufacturing, I have clients in supply chain, I have clients in consumer product goods, in pharma. Oftentimes, I'm surprised and I laugh at myself. I'm like, oh, I can't believe that I said I would never see this again. And I see it, right? Like just-in-time inventory when we learned that.
Yeah.
I was like, I talked to my refrigeration company during COVID, and they were trying to implement something like that to be able to survive.
Wow.
So it comes back to you, I'm like, oh, I can see why I learned that. But that's true with everything in life. I went through sales training when I worked at the jewelry store to learn how to sell diamonds and how to create the mystique and to help people navigate to the right, romanticizing the sale. Those are skills I still use now, selling people websites or marketing strategy or attribution models or whatever. I think the knowledge you get is very transportable, and if you're agile enough, you can apply it in a lot of areas of your life.
How long have you had Philly Marketing Lab?
So started Philly Marketing Labs in late 2009, early 2010, so roughly 13, 14 years.
So there's an interesting story there as well, because I believe in the beginning, if I'm correct, right, you've had several businesses, but in the beginning, you didn't think Philly Marketing Lab would actually make it.
Oh yeah, I mean, Skip and I took this infamous walk in the Poconos near his home, and he told me that he was looking for a job. This was about 18 months into the business. We weren't making any money. We weren't closing any deals. I think the first year I made $18,000 in 2010. 2011, I made like $23,000.
Wow.
So below poverty line, really. And we took this walk where, Skip, a 50-some-year-old at the time with 2 children and a wife, was telling me that his savings were dwindling, and he needed to go.
Responsibilities, yeah.
Yeah, he needed to go find a job, and we committed that he will go find a job, and I would give it a couple months, and if it doesn't work out, and we don't close any of the opportunities we had, we would shut down. And
I'm sorry, you guys were equal partners at this point?
we were not. So at the time, I was the junior guy that just graduated. We were 80-20.
Wow.
80% for Skip and 20% for me.
Clearly.
Yeah. At the time, when I learned about him wanting to go find a job, I was like, it's only fair that if this is the point we're in right now, the thing is not worth anything. We need to at least be 50-50. So we renegotiated our contract, and got extremely lucky. 2 weeks before my timeline was ending, we closed a client that paid us 15 grand a month in a retainer to run their Google search campaigns, the ads that you see on Google when you do searches.
Wow.
And that gave us the bloodline and the springboard to develop business. And fast forward 13 years or whatever, 12 years from that point in time, PML did close to $5 million last year in revenue. So
congratulations.
It's been, thank you. Yeah, it's been a great, great journey.
Awesome. So 13 years in at this point, right? You've got some other ventures that you were involved in over the years.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So, just to go on a small tangent, if you asked me when I was graduating Temple University, what are you passionate about? Which is the typical question your advisor asks you or your parents ask you when you're trying to go out in the job market. And I struggled with that question a lot because I wasn't passionate about any specific line of business or vertical.
I think a lot of people struggle with that at an early age.
Well, it's Steve Jobs' problem because he gave that speech, this commencement speech, when he said, "Find something you're passionate about, find something you like, and you won't work a day in your life."
Yeah.
That is the biggest line of BS. Can I say BS on your show? And it really sends a message to these individuals that are graduating that, hey, there is something out there that you are going to find that you are so passionate about. It's not going to feel like you're working, and you're going to be so successful, and you're going to make it so big with it. And I disagree with that. And the advice I give people now is find the intersection of what you are really good at and the market need for it. And in that opportunity zone is where you want to pick your major, you want to pick your job, you want to pick your career, you want to apprentice in.
How do you know that though? We go from high school to college at 18, and how do you even figure that out, that soon, or 19 or 20? I always think to myself, what an amazing environment this would be if we left high school and we had the next 4 years or 5 years, instead of going to college, to go just experience the world and just, in a healthy, safe manner, obviously, and truly figure out what is really calling us. I think about that sometimes, and for me, it's like if I went about school that way, and I did well in school. My family's from the Caribbean, and a lot of people look at me and they go, "Did you play football?" And I'm like, I played school.
Yeah.
Like getting A's and dodging beatings was like that was up there on
your parents made you, right?
On the priority list, correct. But I always think to myself, back to the main point, if you experienced a little bit of the world in that fashion, it's then so much easier to figure out what you're passionate about.
You can, and I don't think you need to take 4 years off and go
right, that was go
cruise the world. But I think you can do internships. You can take side hustle jobs.
Okay.
In my marketing company, constantly we're getting emails from people graduating high school or they're in their freshman year saying, "Hey, can I come do a free internship with you just so I can get my feet wet? Can I do an informational interview with you where I can quiz you about your industry?" I think it's not as common now, and only the star students think that way, or people who have had advisors telling them about this opportunity. But many companies allow you to come in and do free internships with them, or you go and interview a business owner, or your parents are friends with somebody who owns a factory and you go and work there or observe for a little bit. I think you could do it at a small scale, right? And then identify, but also what you're good at, right? So while you're going through school, like I loved biology at the time, right, for a period, and then I fell in love with computers. I grew up in a third world country. I didn't have a computer until I was like 15 years old, and I really wanted to know how they worked. So I started taking them apart, and then I connected with a guy that imported computer parts to Lebanon, and I started building them and help selling those computers. So I knew I wanted to be in a computer science major. But then life changes, right? And you evolve and you develop other interests. But to go back to your original question, my trajectory was not one of passion. My trajectory was opportunistic, and I was seeking success. I knew I was passionate about success, but not knowing what specific industry or vertical I was interested in.
Gotcha.
So and going back to the advice is identify that intersection, go for it, be successful, and you can then focus on your passions and pursue finding out what you're passionate about and that kind of thing. It doesn't have to be your career, right? A lot of people I talk with, they want to help the world or make a difference or build shelters or water wells in Africa, and that's great. But imagine how much more efficient and efficacious you can be if you had a career that is successful, that connected you with the right people, that provided for you to go and invest in those charitable experiences and helping the world, you would make a bigger impact. So it's all about treating your life like a business, right? Because if in our business, we follow success, we follow the market demand, right? So by doing that, we're positioning our businesses for success. I'm simply saying, position your life for success as well in a less emotional way. And initially, I wanted to do a pinstripe of bronze on the front lip, but it was too much.
No, I think it's too much, yeah.
We rendered it with bronze wheels. It was too much bronze. We wanted
the calipers
to hit. Calipers is one area where if I were to keep this car long term, I may powder coat them, yeah.
Right. If you could do it for me, I appreciate it.
Okay, you got
Or
it.
at a bare
For the
minimum,
next episode.
Yeah, at a bare minimum, if you didn't want to do the entire caliper in bronze, because I actually do like the, no, I think you
think
got
the
to do it in
calipers
bronze.
in
Yeah,
bronze
you
would
gotta
look,
do it in bronze.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the next thing to upgrade on this car.
So where does the Evo fall in terms of trims in the Huracan offering?
It's pretty much the base model. After the LP610 and the 480, they came out with the Evo, which was an evolution on the style. The Technica now sits in between it and the STO.
Okay. And the Performante, if the Performante was still in the lineup.
Correct. The Performante will sit above that.
Okay, gotcha.
So the Performante will be one step below the STO, technically. Awesome. But this is very drivable. I didn't, it's not a garage queen. I drive this car. I put it out there. I let kids sit in it. People take pictures with it. It's a driving car. I have almost 3,000 miles on it.
Awesome. 22?
22, yep.
So to our viewers, right, I'm a car enthusiast, okay? And I say that aesthetically first, right? I'm still learning, although I'm several years in 2-3 decades, and actually since birth, right? Since I can remember anything, I was a car enthusiast. But in terms of horsepower, torque numbers, I get all of that. But beyond that, that's really not where my expertise is, right? I love listening. I know every car model that's out, the trims, but like when you hear me ask or something like, where does it fall in the line? I might not know every single, technical everything about the car. We just love them. So how fast is this? How powerful is it, I should say?
It's about 610 horsepower,
610, gotcha.
400-ish torque. Naturally aspirated. That's the spirit of this car.
That's a big thing, yeah.
So I came off of a 911 Turbo S before this, and the Turbo S is faster than this car.
Absolutely,
hands down.
For sure.
This is an event to drive. The 911, get in it, go to Trader Joe's, buy some fruits and vegetables and come home. It doesn't feel like you're doing anything special.
You said something that was interesting, and I missed journalism class, so I can't I can't give it back to you the same way you gave it back to me. But what I heard somewhere in there was something of learning how to become focusing on one thing so that you don't end up ultimately a jack of all trades and a master of none.
Right.
So in that line, and back to my original question, let me ask it this way: how long was your focus solely on your marketing company before you started venturing into other partnerships, what have you?
Yeah, I would say I was focused on Philly Marketing Labs for at least about 7 years before I ventured out. Wow. And during that period of time, we were trying to find ourselves. Because when we first started Philly Marketing Labs, anybody who paid us, we were all things to all people. You needed a website built in Drupal. We have no Drupal experience. I would say yes to you, and I'll go figure out a way to do it because you were paying us and you were going to give us that bloodline that would keep us going. And then you get to a point where you reach maturity as a business and you want to focus, right? And then you identify, again, your market position, what is the most defensible market position that you want to be in, and you focus on that. So I think there are two stages. There's focusing the business and getting it stable, and then that will afford you time and mental capacity to go pursue other ventures. So it took me about 7 years to stabilize Philly Marketing Labs and get it focused on what it's good at in a position that is defensible. Because in marketing and consulting, we don't have intellectual property. We don't have a widget that we sell that is proprietary and patented to us. It's our human capital. It's what's in our brains. It's our knowledge. So we always find ourselves in positions where we're defending ourselves, where we're justifying our existence to our clients, where we're trying to defend against the new, energetic, young guy coming in with their agency, with new blood and new ideas. So it's a very tedious space to defend, but that's how you have to really find your footing. And I can speak more about that and how we did it.
I was going to ask, how do you defend yourself right now, not being the new kids on the block,
right?
From those those newcomers, the folks who might not have the newest, hottest ideas, but they're the newest folks in there, so they might be grabbing the ears of your potential customers. How do you mount a defense from that?
Happens all the time. So our agency is very small. We're a team of 12.
Wow.
So it's we sell ourselves as Navy SEALs. So we are very senior, seasoned individuals in our crafts, and we work directly with our clients on their marketing, objectives, defending them from their competition and things like that. But where we found our sweet spot is in pharmaceuticals and over-the-counter pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
And what we learned very quickly is that space is controlled by the regulatory and legal departments in those companies, right? So if you sold an over-the-counter pharmaceutical eye drops, let's say, there are things you can and can't say to the public, right? Just because of regulatory bodies governing that space in the US. So as a marketer, not only do you have to be good at marketing that product, but you also have to be able to do it with compliance to those regulatory forces and guardrails. So we learned how to work with the brand managers themselves, but also with their regulatory and legal bodies.
Navigate that space, yeah.
And that's a very defensible space because an agency that is new at this can't come in and bid on our business because they don't understand the things you can and can't do.
Yep.
So as part of their pitches, they will actually violate the things that we can't. So oftentimes we're sitting hearing competition or new agencies coming to our clients say, oh, have you thought about doing this thing? And it's like, well, the client and their lawyers know that they can't do that. And by simply pitching that,
they're automatically done.
Exactly,
Yeah.
they're out. So that's just from a defensibility perspective, but that doesn't keep you there, right? We're not the only ones doing this. There are other pharma marketing agencies out there. There's less of them, right? We have to deal with less competition because we're not competing with any marketing company, but you still have to bring new ideas to the table. You have to bring innovation to the table. You have to stay at the peak of your craft because digital marketing is a very, very fast-moving ecosystem. You snooze for a month. Like I interview people that have been out of the job market for a month or two, and they fall behind because it moves so quickly. Like every week, Google releases new marketing strategies or new marketing channels or new marketing campaigns that our clients can do. And if we're not on that bleeding edge, bringing those ideas to our clients to keep them competitive, we fall behind.
You're gone.
So it's this effect where you have to run as fast as you can to stay in the same spot and not to fall back. So that's the curse and the blessing of digital marketing in the space that we operate in.
So you're 7 years in. I imagine things are going well. And you're starting to look at ways to diversify your portfolio. You've got a successful business. At this point, again, you still haven't started any other business ventures, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so what was your first business venture after that 7-year period where you looked up and you said, okay, now is the time to start making some additional moves?
I mean, it wouldn't be correct to say I didn't start any business ventures. I did have Bagel Spice, which was a spice company, again, like a side hustle that I created while I was going to school. That survived for, I don't know, maybe a decade. Over the years, that was a spice blend that you would find on an everything bagel in a jar. Trader Joe's sells it now. Costco sells it now.
So you sold the company?
I didn't sell. I exited from it because I wound it down because the big competition came in. It was a college project at Temple that I took to market, and I got into all the Whole Foods in the Mid-Atlantic region. I got into H-E-B in the South. So it was a nice little venture. I always had like something small going on the side. This was not like high capital or anything like that. It was like almost like a food venture.
Got you.
But yes, as I experienced the stabilization of Philly Marketing Labs, I realized that I needed to invest the money that I was getting out of Philly Marketing Labs in an industry that is much more stable, right? Philly Marketing Labs remains very lucrative, but it's high risk because we're in consulting. There's clients don't typically have a lot of loyalty. They switch off, that kind of thing. So I did a lot of research and I landed on real estate. Real estate, the tax benefits from it for somebody that was earning money elsewhere and bringing it to real estate was very beneficial. It had staying power. It was the opposite of what I did in digital marketing. What we do in digital marketing is very virtual. It's not tangible, you can't touch it. Real estate was the balancing investment to that. So my wife and I started looking into real estate. We didn't even own a house ourselves. We were renting. And just went through Reddit rabbit holes, forums, learned everything I could possibly learn about real estate, how to evaluate it, how to analyze it, how to find it, all of that. And again, right, not a formal education. I took the internet education route, right? And learned a lot. I mean, there are so many resources out there, more so now than back when I did it. And we found our first townhouse that we bought as an investment while we were still renting.
Awesome.
And it wasn't until we bought our second rental till we felt comfortable enough going and buying our own home that we live in.
So you started with your first townhome, and today, where is that portfolio grown to?
I'm at 67 doors, from Philly to like Montgomeryville area.
Wow.
All within half an hour drive from where I live.
All residential?
All residential. Some are commercial residential, meaning they're buildings with units inside of them. But yes, I have not made the switch into commercial yet. It's an area that I'm currently learning about. I think the economic climate is going to be ripe for me to get into commercial real estate in the next few months to a year. But, you know, still in wait and see mode, not sure what's going to happen.
And we were just kidding because I saw a picture of it as we were landing him on our show, and I absolutely hated it. I said, this is
She's not photogenic, that's what you're saying.
This is the most basic base model Huracan I've ever seen, and this is my first time actually getting eyes on it in person. And boy, was I wrong. This is a special vehicle. I just thought about the perfect analogy for how I felt about this car.
Great, let's hear it.
I mean, I've been single a long time, so I've had people try to hook me up with their friends, and it got to the point where people are like, I got a friend for you, and I'm like, no, I'm just not looking for anybody right now. You know, I'm pretty good. And what this car is like when you say, no, you're good, and then they bring the friend anyway, and she is an absolute, I mean, like physically, at least she could be your wife. This is what this car is to me.
Okay.
Absolutely, just beautifully spec'd. So why don't you hop in, fire it up first. Let's hear that V10. But you did let me in on something just now, which is that they don't rev well in neutral.
Yeah, because it's a feature. You have to be rolling in order for you to rev it into high RPM. But
so we'll hear you here, and then we're gonna have you take a couple of runs.
All right.
I don't know what he's looking for, but that sounds damn good. Come back here and capture this, right? And I'll close the other door in a sec, but hit that a couple more times. That sounds, what? All right, so this is how you know an owner is spoiled, right? I'm not sure what world this doesn't rev well in.
No, it doesn't let you go above 3,000.
That sounds ridiculous, though.
All right.
Right?
All right.
I'm actually gonna hop in with
All right, let's do it.
Unbelievable. What? Oh, yeah. So being ever the entrepreneur, ever in the inventive space, you know, you've got a great portfolio of real estate, right? You've got your marketing company, which has been in business for, at this point, 12 or 13 years. And because you just don't know when to stop, right? A lot of our viewers who tune in, they might recognize your face because you were featured on Shark Tank as an inventor or an entrepreneur that actually was able to get the sharks to invest. So that was just a few years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, couple. Mm-hmm.
And you brought the Banana Loco product, basically to the show. So tell us a little bit about that experience.